I was just getting ready to call you and harass you. Hmm? It's like, let's call Lydia. She never shows up. Let's just call her and give her a hard time. It's like, what's your excuse for today? And voila, bam, she shows up like a bright and shining star. So you have to put down your amount of days in your sober. Chad. Hey, Chad, how are you? Where are you calling from today, and how long have you been sober? Are you here for AA? Jan to Chad.
Yes, I am here for AA, and today is sober day number 7.
Denver, United States, California,
Denver.
Rebecca. Denver. 7 days. 7 days in Denver. Glad you're here. Welcome to Newcomers Slipper Step Worship. And Lydia, how many days sober are you?
Hey, sorry, I'm driving. I'm 94.
Yeah, you're either driving or you're at yoga.
I'm coming down from the mountains. So
I bet you are. Then when you get home, you will have to fight off your murderous husband.
I hope not.
I know. Dude, just carry a lot of pepper spray.
I'll try.
There's a company down in Colorado Springs. You can have your car outfitted with a flamethrower on the driver's side door.
Not sure I'm responsible enough for that. Seems a bit much.
You'd be burning a lot of people.
Probably, especially if they cut me off in traffic or something.
Yeah, I know. Okay. How was your yoga retreat?
Peaceful.
Did you see the thing I sent you with yogurt?
I did.
That, that's it's called what is it called? Not Star Wars, but what's the name of that movie?
Spaceballs, isn't it?
Baseballs, yeah. That's one of my favorite movies. This meeting is kind of like Spaceballs, isn't it?
I don't think so.
No, you don't know.
It's not in outer space.
No, not in outer space, but it's just like it's just sometimes it can be a little over the edge, over the top. So where are you now?
Like Thornton.
Did you come right down 36 or did you drive all the way out to 25 and go down that way?
I did 25.
If you went at 36, you would have drove right by my house.
I know.
See?
That's why she took the other way.
Oh, I know. You don't have to tell me. I'm not going by his house. Try to lasso me in. Yeah, you come in here and we have to attend the meeting on the couch by your phone. How do you like my background? Has that kind of Easter Palm Sunday look, doesn't it? Okay, time to go. If you would put everything up to read. Hey, Rebecca, can you read off your computer? Do you have all the stuff to read on your computer? I don't want you to read from chat.
Yeah, I do.
Too messy. Well,
Ready to roll.
we'll have you introduce the meeting to everybody. Go right ahead.
Welcome to Newcomers Slipper Step. Please follow along in chat. This is a step workshop. If you are new to AA or coming back, this meeting is for you. This group is exactly what the name says, a workshop. We read 6 AA books, work the steps, sponsor you, and give reading and writing assignments. We will teach you an AA program. We move right along here and people get well here. Newcomer Slipper Step workshop is a step workshop. Unlike most AA meetings, it is not a speaker's meeting nor a discussion meeting. It is more like an AA class, AA 101, AA University. You want to have the attitude of learning and do the assigned reading and writing on the steps. We will take you through the steps in AA books in short order. If you are looking for guidance and direction in an AA program, this meeting is for you. Newcomers Slipper Step Workshop on Zoom is a very unique meeting since we use the same principles AA used between 1932 and 1939. Everybody works in the group and moves through the 12 steps to live our lives free from alcohol and learn a new way of living. We're glad you can make it. Here is the newcomers packet for those new to AA. It has pamphlets and information about Alcoholics Anonymous. It is directly in the chat. Security for newcomers slipper step workshop on Zoom. We have cameras and chat turned off. You can chat only with co-hosts. We do all of the above for safety reasons. Zoom bombers try to get in, and this eliminates them. We don't allow group sharing in chat or exchange of phone numbers. This is an AA step class. Since everyone is new here, we want to protect you. Meeting confirmation. Here is our email for meeting confirmation. stepworkshop1@gmail.com for class, work, probation, court, etc. And that will also be in the chat. Announcements. Seventh tradition, contributions. You can make donations to @Jann Scott in Venmo or Cash App, Jack Fox 111999. PayPal is good for international. To Jann Scott live@gmail.com, 720-646-6131. Contributions go to pay for Zoom, Boulder 1 AA, Boulder County AA, OIOAA, Intergroup, and Father Terry's work. We offer free books to those in need. We spend about $350 a month every month. Suggested donations are $1 to $2 per meeting, or the price of a 12-pack of bud, 12 ounce per month, $18.99. This group meets daily with the following formats. Monday, 12 by 12 step study. Tuesday, big book. Wednesday, as Bill sees it. Thursday, came to believe, Dog Thursday. Friday, Cat Friday. Saturday, living sober. Sunday, daily reflections. AA preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of people who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution. Does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics achieve sobriety. Please join me in the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. New to this meeting, please come for 5 days to see how you like it, and we will put you to work. This meeting is recorded with audio only for our podcast on our YouTube channel. No video pictures or names show. No one will know you are here. Our podcast is YouTube channel, Newcomer Slipper Step Workshop AA meeting. The link is below in chat. And finally, everyone, please introduce yourself as an alcoholic when speaking. Thank you for being here. And now, back to you, Jann, and Kitty in the studio. You're muted.
Lisa muted me, or Preston did. Could you explain to everybody why we have Cat Friday? What's the story with that?
Because you go to an AA meeting and everybody wants to talk about and complain about their cat and their cat did this and their cat did that, and nobody's focusing on the steps. So we devote Fridays to your cat. See Jann's cat? Jann has his own stuffed cat. Okay.
There has to be something wrong with him.
I think it's the owner.
There's like, You're annoying and you're interrupting the meeting. You realize that. Okay, just once you sit down over here, behave. Try that. Okay, sorry about that. We have Dog Thursday too for like Lisa. Lisa, why do we have Dog Thursday?
Well, Jan, I think it's because when you go to a live AA meeting, a lot of people seem to talk about their dogs rather than focus on their issues with alcohol, and rather than having the 12 steps be the topic of the meeting.
I see you're kind
So
of choked up.
we dedicated day just for dogs.
Do people bring their dogs to the meeting on Thursdays, huh?
They
And then we
sure
talk
do.
about, and people bring their cats on Fridays only. You're not supposed to bring your cat during the week. Well,
Correct.
I see we're off to quite the start today. And today is Monday, and we read from 12 Steps and 12 Traditions on Monday. And where did we leave off, Preston or Jeff, from last
I
week?
think we're on step 11, I think.
Okay, reading step 11. Anybody else concur with that? Is that it, Jeff? Okay, step 11 in the 12 by 12. Preston's going to put that up. 12 steps and 12 traditions. How many pages is that one, Preston? Or do you have the book there, Jeff? How many pages is it? Or who has the book sitting in front of him?
It's like 8 or
Jeff,
9.
it's
It's like 9.
102, 103. Yeah, starts, yeah,
Is it a
it
long
ends
chapter?
on
It's a long
105.
chapter. How many pages is it?
So it goes from 96 to 105.
Oh, okay, so it's 9 pages. All right. Everybody read a page. Raise your hand to read. And we'll start with you, Preston,
All right.
and move right along.
All right, I'm Preston. I'm an alcoholic. Step 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. Prayer and meditation are principal means of conscious contact with God. We AAs are active folk, enjoying the satisfactions of dealing with the realities of life, usually for the first time in our lives, and strenuously trying to help the next alcoholic who comes along. So it isn't surprising that we often tend to slight serious meditation and prayer as something not really necessary. To be sure, we feel it is something that might help us to meet an occasional emergency, but at first many of us are apt to regard it as a somewhat mysterious skill of clergymen from which we may hope to get a second-hand benefit. Or perhaps we don't believe in these things at all. To certain newcomers and to those one-time agnostics who still cling to the AA group as their higher power, claims for the power of prayer may, despite all the logic and experience and proof of it, still be unconvincing or quite objectionable. Those of us who once felt this way can certainly understand and sympathize. We well remember how something deep inside us kept rebelling against the idea of bowing before any God. Many of us had strong logic too, which proved there was no God, whatever. All right, pass. Thank you.
Unmute the next person, would you, Preston? And call on them.
Lisa, I believe that's the first person I see. There you go, Lisa.
Okay, let's see. What about all the accidents, sickness, cruelty, and injustice in the world? What about all those unhappy lives, which were the direct result of unfortunate birth and uncontrollable circumstances? Surely there could be no justice in this scheme of things, and therefore no God at all. Sometimes we took a slightly different tack. Sure, we said to ourselves, the hen probably did come before the egg. No doubt the universe had a first cause of some sort. The God of the atom, maybe, hot and cold by turns. But certainly there wasn't any evidence of a God who knew or cared about human beings. We liked AA all right, and were quick to say that it had done its miracles, but we recoiled from meditation and prayer as obstinately as the scientist who refused to perform a certain experiment, lest it prove his pet theory wrong. Of course, we finally did experiment, and when unexpected results followed, we felt different. In fact, we knew different. And so we were sold on meditation and prayer. And that we have found can happen to anybody who tries. It has been well said that almost the only scoffers at prayer are those who never tried it enough. Those of us who have come to make regular use of prayer would no more do without it than we would refuse air, food, or sunshine. And for same reason, when we refuse air, light, or food, the body suffers. And when we turn away from meditation and prayer, we likewise deprive our minds, our emotions, and our intuitions of vitally needed support. As the body can fail its purpose for lack of nourishment, so can the soul. We all need the light of God's reality, the nourishment of his strength, and the atmosphere of his grace. To an amazing extent, the facts of AA life confirm this ageless truth.
Next
Let's see.
person.
Kelly?
Kelly, alcoholic. There is a direct linkage among self-examination, meditation, and prayer. Take separately, these practices can bring much relief and benefit. But when they are logically related and interwoven, the result is an unshakable foundation and for life. Now and then we may be granted a glimpse of what that ultimate reality, which is God's kingdom. And we will be comforted and assured that our destiny in that realm will be secure for so long as we try, however falteringly, to find and do the will of our own Creator. As we have seen, self-searching is a means by which we bring new vision, action, and grace to bear upon the dark and negative side of our natures. It is a step in the development of that kind of humility that makes it possible for us to receive God's help. Yet it is only a step. We will want to go further. We will want the good that is in us all, even with the world of us, to flower and to grow. Most certainly we shall need bracing air and an abundance of food. But first of all, we shall want sunlight. Nothing much can grow in the dark. Meditation is our step out into the sun. How then shall we meditate? The actual experience of meditation and prayer across the centuries is, of course, immense. The world's libraries and places of worship are a treasure trove for all seekers. It is to be hoped that every AA who has a religious connection which emphasizes meditation will return to the practice of that devotion as never before. But what about the rest of us?
Stop right there. Okay, so who's the next person? Go, Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff Alcoholic. Jeff Alcoholic, South Florida. But what about the rest of us? Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me? Okay, Jeff Alcoholic, but what about the rest of us who less fortunate don't even know how to begin? Well, we might start like this. First, let's look at a really good prayer. We won't have to go far to seek. The great men and women of all religions have left us a wonderful supply. Here, let us consider one that is a classic. Its author was a man who, for several hundred years now, has been rated as a saint. We won't be biased or scared off by the fact because he was not an alcoholic. He did, like us, go through the emotional wringer. And as he came out on the other side of that painful experience, this prayer was his expression of which he could then see, feel, and wish to become. Lord, make me a channel of thy peace, that where there is hatred, I may bring love, that where there is wrong, I may bring the spirit of forgiveness, that where there is discord, I may bring harmony, that where there is error, I may bring truth, and that where there is doubt, I may bring faith, that where there is despair, I may bring hope, that where there are shadows, I may bring light, that where there is sadness, I may bring joy. Lord, grant that I may seek rather to comfort than to be comforted, to understand rather than to be understood, to love than to be loved. For it is by self-forgetting that one finds. It is by forgiving that one is forgiven. It is by dying that one awakens to eternal life. Amen. Thank you for letting me read that.
As beginners in meditation, we might now reread this prayer several times, very slowly, savoring every word and trying to take in the deep meaning of each phrase and idea. It will help if we can drop all resistance to what our friend says. For in meditation, debate has no place. We rest quietly with the thoughts of someone who knows, so that we may experience and learn. As though lying upon a sunlit beach, let us relax and breathe deeply of the spiritual atmosphere with which the grace of this prayer surrounds us. Let us become willing to partake and be strengthened and lifted up by the sheer spiritual power, beauty, and love of which these magnificent words are the carriers. Let us look upon the sea and ponder what its mystery is, and let us lift our eyes to the far horizon, beyond which we shall seek all those wonders still unseen. Shucks, says somebody, this is nonsense. It isn't practical. When such thoughts break in, we might recall a little ruefully how much store we used to set by imagination as it tried to create reality out of bottles. Yes, we reveled in that sort of thinking, didn't we? And though sober nowadays, don't we often try to do much the same thing? Perhaps our trouble was not that we used our imagination. Perhaps the real trouble was that almost total inability to point imagination toward the right objectives. There's nothing the matter with constructive imagination. All sound achievement rests upon it. After all, no man or woman can build a house until he first envisions a plan for it. Well, meditation is like that too. It helps to envision our spiritual objective before we try to move toward it. So let's get back to that sunlit beach, or to the plains, or to the mountains, if you prefer. Okay, who's going to be the next reader here? Let's see. You want to read, Kelly? Did you read already? Go ahead. You can read.
Kelly Alcoholic, when by such simple devices we had placed ourselves in a mood in which we can focus undisturbed on constructive imagination, we might proceed like this. Once more, we read our prayer and again try to see what its inner essence is. We'll think now about the man who first uttered the prayer. First of all, he wanted to become a channel. Then he asked for the grace to bring love, forgiveness, harmony, truth, faith, hope, light, and joy to every human being he could. Next came the expression of the aspirations and a hope for himself. He hoped, God willing, that he might be able to find some of these treasures too. This he would try to do by what he called self-forgetting. What did he mean by self-forgetting? And how did he propose to accomplish that? He thought it better to give comfort than to receive it, better to understand than to be understood, better to forgive than to be forgiven. This much could be a fragment of what is called meditation, perhaps our very first attempt at a mood, a flyer into the realm of spirit, if you like. It ought to be followed by a good look at where we stand now and a further look at what might happen in our lives when we are able to move closer to the ideal that we have been trying to glimpse. Meditation is something which can always be further developed. It has no boundaries, either with width or height. Aided by such instruction and example as we can find, it is essentially an individual adventure something which each one of us works out in his own way, but its object is always the same: to improve our conscious contact with God, with his grace, wisdom, and love. And let's always remember that meditation is in reality intensely practical. One of its first fruits is
Stop right there. So the next person is going to be, where'd they go? Let's see. They were here someplace. Hey, May, you want to read? Go
Yeah, I
ahead.
can read. Okay. I'm going to start. Okay, one of its first fruits is emotional balance. With it, we can broaden and deepen the channel between ourselves and God as we understand Him. Now, what of prayer? Prayer is the raising of the heart and mind to God. And in this sense, it includes meditation. How may we go about it, and how does it fit in with the meditation? Prayer, as commonly understood, is a petition to God. Having opened our channel as best we can, we try to ask for those right things of which we and others are in greatest need. And we think that the whole range of our needs is well defined by that part of step 11, which says knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. A request for this fits in any part of our day. In the morning, we think of the hours to come. Perhaps we think of our day's work and the chances it may afford us to be useful and helpful, or some special problem that it may bring. Possibly today we'll see a continuum of a serious and yet unresolved problem left over from yesterday. Our immediate temptation will be to ask for specific solutions to specific problems and for the ability to help other people as we already thought they should be helped. In that case, we are asking God to do it our way. Therefore, we ought to consider each request carefully to see what its real merit is. Even so, when making specific requests, it will be well to add to each of them this qualification: if it be thy will. We ask simply that throughout the day, God place us in the best understanding of his will that we can have for that day, and that we be given the grace by which we may carry it out.
Stop right there. Over to Stephen in Rio de Janeiro. You want to pick it up from there?
I'm sorry, guys, I don't have the book.
Okay, it's fine. How about you, Lydia? You want to pick it up from there? You ready to read? You loser. Oh, Sarah, you want to read?
Yeah, I forgot. I lost my place. Excuse me. Are we
Oh.
on page 102?
Last sentence on page 102.
Okay, thank you. As the day goes on, we can pause where situations must be met and decisions made, and renew the simple request: Thy will, not mine, be done. If at these points our emotional disturbance happens to be great, we will more surely keep our balance, provided we remember and repeat to ourselves a particular prayer or phrase that is appealed to us in our reading or meditation. Just saying it over and over will often enable us to clear a channel choked up with anger, fear, frustration, or misunderstanding, and permit us to return to the surest help of all, our search for God's will, not our own, in the moment of stress. At these critical moments, if we remind ourselves that it is better to comfort than to be comforted, to understand than to be understood, to love than to be loved, we will be following the intent of step 11. Of course, it is reasonable and understandable that the question is often asked, why can't we take a specific and troubling dilemma straight to God and in prayer secure from him sure and definite answers to our requests? This can be done, but it has hazards. We have seen AAs ask with such earnestness and faith for God's explicit guidance on matters ranging all the way from a shattering domestic or financial crisis to correcting a minor personal fault like tardiness. Quite often, however, the thoughts that seem to come from God are not answers at all. They prove to be well-intentioned unconscious rationalizations. The AA, or indeed any man who tries to run his life rigidly by this kind of prayer, by this self-serving demand of God for replies, is a particularly disconcerting individual. To any questioning or criticism of his actions, he instantly proffers his reliance upon prayer for guidance in all matters, great or small. He may have forgotten the possibility that his own wishful thinking and the human tendency to rationalize have distorted his so-called guidance. With the best of
Stop right there. Okay, Rebecca, how about you? You want to pick it up from there?
Excuse me, what page? Rebecca Alcoholic?
104,
Thank you.
third sentence down, with the best intentions.
With the best intentions, he tends to force his own will into all sorts of situations and problems, with the comfortable assurance that he is acting under God's specific direction. Under such an illusion, he can of course create great havoc without in the least intending it. We also fall into another similar temptation. We form ideas as to what we think God's will is for other people. We say to ourselves, this one ought to be cured of his fatal malady, or that one ought to be relieved of his emotional pain, and we pray for these specific things. Such prayers, of course, are fundamentally good acts, but often they are based upon a supposition that we know God's will for the person to whom we pray, for whom we pray. This means that side by side with an earnest prayer, there can be a certain amount of presumption and conceit in us. It is AA's experience that particularly in these cases, we ought to pray that God's will, whatever it is, be done for others as well as for ourselves. In AA, we have found that the actual good results of prayer are beyond question. They are matters of knowledge and experience. All of those who have persisted have found strength not ordinarily their own. They have found wisdom beyond their usual capability, and they have increasingly found a peace of mind which can stand firm in the face of difficult circumstances. We discover that we do receive guidance for our lives to just about the extent that we stop making demands upon God to give it to us on order and on our terms.
Okay. Over to Jeff. Go ahead, Jeff.
Jeff, Alcoholic, South Florida. Page 104, last word. Almost any experienced AA will tell us how his affairs have taken a remarkable and unexpected turns for the better as he tried to improve his conscious contact with God. He will also report that out of every season of grief or suffering, when the hand of God seemed heavy or even unjust, new lessons for living were learned, new resources of courage were uncovered, and finally, inescapably, the conviction came that God does move in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform. All this should be very encouraging news for those who recoil from prayer because they don't believe in it or because they feel themselves cut off from God's help and direction. All of us, without exception, pass through times when we pray only with the greatest exertion of will. Occasionally, we go even further than this. We are seized with a rebellion so sickening that we simply won't pray. When these things happen, we should not think too ill of ourselves. We should simply resume prayer as soon as we can, doing what we know to be good for us. Perhaps one of the greatest rewards of meditation and prayer is the sense of belonging that comes to us. We no longer live in a completely hostile world. We are no longer lost and frightened and purposeless. The moment we catch even a glimpse of God's will, the moment we begin to see truth, justice, and love as the real eternal things in life, we are no longer deeply disturbed by all the seeming evidence to the contrary that surrounds us in purely human affairs. We know that God lovingly watches over us. We know that when we turn to Him, all will be well with us here and hereafter. Thank you, letting me read that.
Well, so this is quite the chapter.
Yes.
Chapter 11, Jann, Alcoholic. One of the things they talk about in here, I mean, he touches on various aspects of prayer and meditation, and none of that made any sense to me until I started to go to church. No, I'd gone to Catholic church where I grew up, but they never talked about this stuff in the Catholic Church. They never used the Bible. They never discussed this type of prayer. I think when I went to the what are currently called non-denominational churches, I think they're the ones that are the evangelical sort of born again churches, which is where Bill and Bob and the whole AA movement came from. It came from the what was the first name of the of our 5-step program that came out of the Church of England? Do you know what it is, Jeff? Or
The absolutes.
no. What was the other where Effie had gone to?
Oh, what Effie had got the 5 or 6. I thought it was called the absolutes, the 5
No, what,
directives.
no, Rebecca, what's the name of it? Where they first went? You don't know? Come on, somebody knows. Do you know what it is? They got the program from, come
Oh,
on,
the Oxford group.
Oxford groups, that's right.
Oh, I thought you named the name of the directors,
No,
themselves. Okay, the
Okay,
Oxford
so
group.
they
Oh,
got it,
sure.
they got it from the
Yeah.
Oxford. So, and the Oxford groups were a 5-step program from Oxford, England, from the Church of England. Now, this was an evangelical movement. There are 5-step, the Oxford group's purpose was to get you saved, drunk or sober, so that you could get into heaven. When AA came around, they said, well, our primary purpose is to help the suffering alcoholic get sober. Not our primary purpose is not to get people saved and into heaven. These people have had enough problems. Let's see if we can just help people get sober. So they added on these other 7 steps. But in this reading, if you go into it in depth, I mean, they not only he's talking about the St. Francis prayer, right? Which is kind of the official AA prayer, the official 11th step prayer. Did everybody catch that? The St. Francis prayer in the middle of it? Yeah. Did you see it in there, Lisa? Yes. What? No. Oh, well, it's on the St. Francis prayer. Do you know what the St. Francis prayer is?
The only St. Francis prayer I really know is for animals. St. Francis of Assisi.
Yeah, well, this is the St. Francis prayer. And let's see, let's look it up in Google here. So the St. Francis prayer, Prayer. It's the prayer of St. Francis, which goes, Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Okay. You familiar with that one, Lisa? You have to talk to me because I can't see you.
No, I mean, I probably have heard it and just didn't realize it was the St. Francis prayer, but
But it's not only the St. Francis prayer, it is the kind of the official 11th step prayer of AA. How about that? And I'm going to put it here in chat. Who knew that it was the official 11th step prayer of AA?
Jeff alcoholic.
Raise your hand. Down and up. Just raise your hand. I don't want to hear from you.
Yeah.
I'm talking. Okay, so here it is. I'm going to put it up in chat. So that's good. That's the official 11-step prayer. Now, the other thing that so he goes into that prayer. That's kind of what we're striving to be, Lisa. And I put the prayer up in chat for everybody. But the other thing in this reading, he talks about when you're praying to God, he calls this a fatal malady, where you're talking to God and you think God tells you to do one thing, and then it's really your ego. You come up with these wild ideas. And they do that in the Christian church too. Now, one of the things that's happened to me is by learning how to talk to God and to listen, I get direct messages, usually in the line of, this is a right thing to do, this is not the right thing to do. Well, what does that mean? So I'll be headed down some path, and I'll stop and I'll go, should I be doing this? And that's my talk to God. And if I get an answer which is no, it comes more and more clearly. Or I get an answer yes. Or we'll ask, like this meeting as an example. I feel like God has basically directed me to do this meeting. It wasn't really my idea. I wanted to do something else. But here we are. And the other thing too is praying for people. So does everybody have a prayer list? Do you have a list of people you pray for? Especially the ones you hate, don't like, people in your family, put them on your prayer list. Ask God to take care of them. My simple meditation or my simple prayer to God is, what should I do? Should I do this? Do you want me to do this? Not kind of grandiose ideas. More like, how am I doing? Am I headed in the right direction? Or the old saying of, God, we need to have a talk, you first. And then you shut up and listen to it. But this whole chapter is kind of about, they come out and talk about it. I think the in-depth instructions of this type of meditation, listening to your higher power, probably going to come from a church. They call them churches that are alive, that are full, not a dead church where you go in and they preach intellectual mind games at you. That's why the other day when we did the third step with Javier, afterwards I was saying to Sam, your job is to lead in the third step Xavier to God, to the born again, we were reborn, we felt the new power flow in. Your job is to ask if you feel that power and guide people to the power. This is not an intellectual process. And the 11th step can become, if you have a lot of resistance and walls built up, you're going to be like, okay, I said the 11th step prayer, I did it, and your machinery takes over, and you're like a robot. You're not communicating with God at all. Now, Preston told me earlier that Sarah was trying to raise her hand and talk in the third step meeting, but they kept talking over her. And I was thinking, well, I said, your job is to ask Sarah, you don't let people speak over her, you let her talk. And I say that because Sarah's deeply connected to God and probably has a lot of things to say. But our illness, our disease will stop a person talking about the power of God coming through Sarah.
Yes. Yeah, I was just gonna say what I always ask when they're in the third step is, what was their idea of a higher power before the steps, before sobriety, before AA, and what is their view of that higher power now? And that we read the third step prayer a couple of times. So we just go through it once and then it's actually a prayer. And
The whole
so,
thing is a prayer. 60 through 63 is prayerful instructions. They're
yeah,
leading you right to it. They're asking you these questions, and it keeps leading you right into God the whole time. But we become afraid to do it, or embarrassed, or no, or I'll ask, did you feel the power of God? And people start laughing. I'm like, don't fucking laugh.
right. And that's what I was going to talk to him about, but I didn't get the chance. So,
Well, do you have the chance now? Go.
oh, I was just going to say that for me, that I grew up in a home that was supposedly Christian, very toxic home. My idea of God or a higher power was somebody that was very disappointed in me and angry with me. And through the steps, and I've even read the Bible, I know the things, but through the steps, I've learned that when you write down what you want in a best friend, and who that would be, what that looks like to you, and it did change my view on my higher power, and it did have a new flow of power through me, where I have more faith and trust, and I know he's walking with me and AA through this journey. So that's what I always tell people, is that he or it or whatever it is you believe in. For me, it's the God of the universe. He's with me every day. And when I do my prayers and I do the prayers and the steps, the 11th step prayer, I always say at night. That's something that I love that prayer. Basically, it's less of me, more of you. Not my will, your will. And so I like the 3rd step prayer in the morning and the 11th step prayer at night.
My thought is that God is a person. We were created in his image. He is real. And we have to practice. It's like having a relationship, you know? So if you have a new boyfriend, you talk to the boyfriend and you get along with him. Now, if you don't talk to him ever and you never call him and never see him, nothing's going to happen. Girlfriend, whatever. And the same thing with God. God is like big, powerful love object. And if we don't talk to God and we don't say, are you there? Are you real? Can you help me? I think he waits for us. And that's the hard part that I had to learn. I actually had I had to suffer greatly before I was willing to, look up to the heavens and say, I need your help. I mean, it was this illness, alcoholism, all of it was just killing me. Oh, that's the unfortunate. Well, I mean, it is what it is. We have to be beaten into submission, unfortunately. And then we get the reward of this power of love that comes into us and heals us. So when we do the 11th step or the 3rd step, it cannot be an intellectual process. That's why I give people shit when they try to make this intellectual. I'm like, don't do it. Delve right into the spirit. And that's why I often play, that song with Huey Newton, who is it? Huey Newton and the Blues, Power of
Huey
Love.
Lewis and the News.
Yeah, in the news, there you go. Or like what Missy's been going through with the Krishnas and the Christ consciousness, stepped right into the flow, of God. Boom. Father Terry talks about it. He says it doesn't really matter which, you know, um, which pattern or which religious program that you're following. It's the same God. And anyways, I mean, this meeting, we do a pretty good job of it here. Um, probably not as good as some of the evangelical churches that you go to where they talk about him at great length. There are some TV shows on where they talk a great deal about the pure love. But the big book says we realize we know only a little. More will be revealed to you. And I think they were talking about that. They were talking about therapy. They were talking about church. They were talking about some religious instruction. That's why AA is kind of like the front lines. It's the front lines of everything, front lines of spirituality, the front line, the emergency room of recovery. Some people stop here. We stop with AA in our reaching God and having God. I didn't. I was like thrown into the church. That really helped me a lot. I would never have learned it. I just would not have. I would not have. I wouldn't have gotten this. I did both. I went to AA meetings and then I went to like an evangelical church where they taught you all about the spirit. And then these things started to make sense. I thought, my God, they talk about this in AA, but different languaging. I thought, where did this all came from? Then I often refer to that book, the good book and the big book, where they talk about where they took everything right out of the Bible, right out of this evangelical teachings. But so a lot of times, like we had that guy last week, who was just like he was completely affronted by what we were talking about because he had an intellectual concept of God that he had his walls up. There was no fucking way this wall was coming down. Jeff, you were going to say, go ahead.
Yeah, Jeff, alcoholic. When I came into the rooms in New York, now New York wasn't as big on the steps as I would have loved it, but they were big on this prayer. This prayer, you couldn't go to a meeting without people talking about it because it addresses everything in our lives, so much, if not everything. It's just so spot on. You can't go wrong. We have, Catholics, Jews, Muslims, Protestants. Everybody just reveled in this because this was speaking to them, to us, to everybody. Can't go wrong with it.
You really have to give up a lot to do what's in the St. Francis prayer.
Yeah.
You make me an instrument of, thy peace. Are you kidding me? I'm a gunfighter. I'm, peace my foot. I'm in business. I got to get out there and cheat somebody today to make some money.
Right.
There's a lot of that going on, Gerard, how about you? 5 days, Christian man in South Carolina. Okay, no. Kelly.
Well, I'm still learning how to pray and how to meditate. There's a lot of things that I'm still learning,
This reading is a beginning for you. And then the next part that you're going to go to are pages 84 to 88, step 10 and 11. And in those pages, it tells you exactly how to pray and what to pray for. And we'll get you on board with that in a day. So that's a good question. That's a great place to be right there. Well, how do I do this and what is it? Because now this then becomes the big leap. So excellent. And so how's this sitting with you, Rebecca?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to talk about from 3 to 11 with 11 and 3. I as well was one that just tried to intellectualize everything. I mean, that's how we're brought up, or I was brought up to analyze everything. I mean, I came from a household of therapists and psychiatrists. So, it was hard for me to get down with that spiritual part. But when I got it, I got it. And I have it.
We're going to have to listen. One time we're going to have to light a candle and have kind of a prayer meeting. This is almost it. We're almost there. But if you've ever been to like an AA agape meeting, Jeff, or a meeting where everybody is talking to God and praying for each other over various things. And we've had meetings like that. I have. certainly had it where we end the meeting or during the meeting will pray for people. People will bring up what it is that they're struggling with and need prayer with. You have you had that before? So there we go. See, Sarah, I knew it.
Oh yeah. I go to I guess it would be an evangelical type church.
Mhm.
And on Wednesdays I do Bible study, and we go around the room, and it's sort of like AA. We share and then we pray for each other. And
Now we
it's
did a meeting on Wednesday nights that was like that. We'd light a candle, we'd open the book of James, and we'd read from the big book, and we'd also pray for people. Have you been Jeff, you been into an AA prayer meetings at all?
I don't think so, Jan.
How
Yeah,
about
unless it
the
was so
agape
early and I was
groups?
foggy, I don't remember. It could.
Have you been around the agape groups?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, that was a movement in the 80s in AA. They were love meetings. Love, peace, love, joy, prayer. Very powerful meetings.
Okay.
That movement, I don't know what happened to it. I think what happens is people start giggling at it.
Oh,
There is a resistance will pop its head. It'll say, you don't want to go too far. You don't want to, you know, I mean, the only reason I'm like the way I am right now is because God has touched me, changed me. And then I realized that this is what the heck they were doing in the early days of AA. They were profoundly moved. So, anyways, I think we're headed in that direction. I mean, look at this meeting today, step 11, right? Kelly, go. This other Kelly. We got two Kellys. It's confusing.
Hi. Yeah, God is very important part, and we need to be talking with him on a daily basis. I do
Do you,
I
do
do
you, do you
four
have a,
Bible studies a week, so it's very important to me. And
you
when you
do?
talk about a list when I pray, um, it could be a different list. It could be the list of who's in the meeting today. It could be a list of the list of people that all of a sudden inundates you because of the cancer that's going around. It could be the cranky people at work today. Mine rotates, but it really is when I close out my day and I ask the Lord, go through the day and go where the struggles were, but also go through where I was with other struggles. So, you just have to do that, or I have to do that. And that's where my prayers come from in the evening
Do
is
you feel like
every
God's
day.
answering your prayers? Is
I
he,
do. I
do you
do.
feel communication from God?
I do. And the thing is you have to be looking for it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a really quick story. I was so upset one day and I was crying, and I was stopped at a stoplight and I looked in front of me, and that license plate on the back of this vehicle literally said whatever. And I was like, okay, you're right. You're right. I'm wound up in stuff I shouldn't be wound up in. So there is, you have to be listening for it, but he
Kind of
certainly
a
is.
kind of a fun license plate.
Yeah.
So May, how about you? Yesterday, you said you were doing pretty well with God.
Yeah, after reading that chapter, I'm starting to reevaluate perhaps whether, you know, my ego I've been imposing that on God as or if I've been listening to him, because I find that when I'm listening and when I quiet my mind, that's when I hear from him. But when my thoughts are racing and I'm trying to find my own solution but think it's him, I feel delusional. So yeah, I think that was a really helpful chapter, and I'm trying to relearn how to pray, because I did at one point, but I've clearly gotten more
You
selfish over.
you and Kelly tomorrow will get to step 10 and 11. Okay,
Yeah.
with Kelly, and that'll help you both. AA actually shows you how to pray and what to pray for. It does it in step 3 and it does it in step 10 and 11. And I mean, it gives you specific directions on what to pray for and how to pray. It's like, it's unbelievable. When I saw that, I thought, oh my God, that's just what they were talking about in church. You know, I was confused. I thought, I think they got it from AA, but it was the other way around. All right, so we're just about on time. All right, Gerard.
Hey, Jann.
Okay. Are you still there?
I am.
What? So you've been listening?
I have been. This is a good meeting. I had to step away for a phone call for a little bit. Not apologize about that, but
Shouldn't hang out
really
there.
enjoyed
Hey, Rebecca, if you want to read the promises, we'll get out of here. This was too much fun.
The promises, starting with the last paragraph on page 83 in the big book, chapter 6, into action. Rebecca, alcoholic. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door on it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook on life will change. Fear of people and economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations which used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if we work for them.
Okay, thank you. Perfect. Serenity prayer goes like this. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So this meeting is officially over. How'd you like the meeting today, Chad?